I gotta rename myself.
Welcome everyone to ANC 34G's regular meeting on the second Monday of December. We meet on the second and the fourth Mondays of each month. I'm Randy Speck. I'm the chair of the ANC and I represent the single member district that is District 3. It basically is the area between Nebraska and Utah and Broad Branch. And so we'll begin by introducing the other commissioners. Connie, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, my name is Connie Chang. I am the commissioner for single member district number 5. It's bounded by Connecticut on the east side to Western to Broad Branch Road, and then it hooks in on Legation with a little tail that goes down with Chevy Parkway and Nevada Avenue down to Jocelyn. Good evening.
John?
I'm John Higgins. I am the ANC commissioner for District 02. My district extends east to west from Oregon to Utah and south to north from Military to Aberfoyle Beach Road, a little creek there that contributes to Rock Creek.
And Peter?
I'm Peter Gosselin. I represent the district that stretches from north to south between 41st and the Chevy Chase Circle to Military, east to west, the west side of Connecticut, back to 41st. There's a small peninsula to the east of Connecticut where I live.
And Michael?
Hi, I'm Michael Zeldin. I am representing 3G04, which goes from Lafayette Elementary to Western Avenue and between Broad Branch and Utah, more or less.
Great. We have 5 commissioners. We have more than a quorum. A quorum is 4, so we can conduct business tonight. Just by way of introduction, again, we are not going to meet again now until January 10th in the new year. We don't ordinarily meet our second meeting in December. It usually falls between Christmas and New Year's, and so that's not typically a good time for having meetings. So we will not be meeting until January 10th again, and we'll have a number of things on our agenda then for that meeting that I think is going to be an important meeting. Just to describe the procedures that we're operating on, this is again a virtual platform we've been on for almost 2 years now. And we are, all of the commissioners have audio and video, and the attendees can be recognized and we'll give you audio and video if you're interested in speaking on any of the topics that we have tonight. If you have any comments, we ask you to please put them in the chat. And if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A function so that we can keep track of them. We copy all of the questions as well as all of the chat and keep them in case we've missed something during the meeting so that we can go back and make sure that we address it. All of our meetings are recorded, and so we will have a recording available probably tomorrow for anyone who can't attend the meeting. And I think that's about it. Well, the first thing we have to do is adopt our agenda for tonight. The agenda has been posted on our website and on the various listservs and next door. Are there any modifications or changes anyone wants to make in the agenda? Peter?
Suggestion, if you have a report from the meeting today about the community center library.
There we have a that's on the agenda. It's the item, the last substantive item on the agenda.
Wondered whether we wanted to move it up. I mean, I'm interested in hearing what happened. So
if you'd like to move it up, that's fine. It doesn't make any difference to me. Really, all we've got are reports on various topics tonight. So if we want to make that the first report, that'd be fine too.
I think so, especially because Commissioner Gore is not yet here. So she's the first really up. So we may as well switch the two.
Sure, that's fine. And it's not going to be terribly long, but I'll be glad to report then.
with that change,
Sure. Everyone in favor of adopting the agenda with that modification? Thank you, Peter. 5-0. Okay, the first item is commissioner announcements, and I have several tonight. And the first one I have really sort of relates to the community center library issue, but I'll just give the brief announcement now. And that is on Thursday, December 16th at 10:30, the mayor and some of the DC agencies will provide an update on housing equity in Rock Creek West and other affordable housing announcements. And she will share new opportunities and the path forward to achieving the district's housing equity goals. And it's significant for us because the announcement is going to be made in the courtyard between the community center and the library. And so we want to all pay attention to that. I'll talk in a moment about the conversation I had with the mayor earlier this evening that relates to this, but doesn't necessarily give us much of a clue as to what's going to happen on Thursday. The next announcement I have is with regard to ANC boundaries. As we all know, and we're going to discuss a little bit later in our meeting, the council's work on redrawing the ward boundaries is coming to a close. It's going to be voted on a second time on December 21st. And so after that, each ward member is in the process of redistricting the ANCs within those ward boundaries. And each ward member has been tasked to establish a task force that would evaluate possible changes in the boundaries. That doesn't necessarily mean there will be any changes, but that there will just be an evaluation of it by this task force. Council members Che and Louis George in Ward 3 and Ward 4, along with their at-large colleagues, will soon be making appointments to the Ward 3 and Ward 4 task forces. Councilmember Che has announced that sitting ANC commissioners or those planning to run for the ANC will not be eligible to serve on the task force in Ward 3. And the group should also, she says, be diverse in many ways, including geographical diversity. And if you're interested in being appointed to the Ward 3 task force, you can email Abigail McLean, and her email address is amclean@dccouncil.us, with your name, address, and telephone number and a short description of your interest in serving. And in Ward 4, I tried to reach Lanace Edwards today, who's the chief of staff for Council Member Louis George, to find out whether there were any further limitations that they had on who would serve on the task force. And I wasn't able to reach her, but she is the person to contact if you're interested in serving on the task force in Ward 4. Next, with regard to leaf pickup, DPW reports that it's running about 2 weeks behind on its schedule for leaf pickup. And the updated timing for the second pass of leaf collection in our ANC indicates that residents should rake their leaves so that they're on either in the tree box or in the street by Sunday, December 19th for pickup the following week. You may check DPW's website for any later updates if there are any further delays. Next is an announcement that we've made previously, and that is with regard to the ANC 34G07 vacancy. This is the seat that was previously held by Chris Fromboludi. And the Board of Elections has, as we predicted at our last meeting, has reposted the vacancy. And the period for circulating the petitions is currently open, but closes on December 20th. And candidates may pick up nominating petitions by emailing candidate@dcboe.org, or they can make an in-person appointment to go to 1015 Half Street Southeast. For more information, you should call the Board of Elections. And the boundaries for that single member district are on our website under commissioners. You can find the map there that will show you what the boundaries are. And anyone who is a resident for at least 60 days within that single member district is eligible to vote, to run for the ANC. And after a 1 week challenge period, the Board of Elections will certify the candidates. And if there's only one, then that candidate will become the commissioner. If there is more than one, then there will be an election that will be held, and voters within that single member district will be able to vote. That will be an in-person election, by the way, and we're not sure exactly how that's going to be handled, but it has to be in person. The next announcement I have is with regard to the ANC's annual report. By law, we are required every year by December 1st to submit an annual report for the previous fiscal year. And we've submitted and posted on our website our report for fiscal year 2021. And the report describes all of the meetings that we held. We had 23 meetings last year, which is, I suspect, close to a record for ANCs. And the majority describes the major issues that the commission addressed, all of the presentations that were made at various commission meetings, the resolutions that the commission adopted, the grants that we gave, the testimony that we submitted to the council or district agencies, and the financial data from our treasurer's report. So all of that is available on our website, and we have annual reports back for several years as well, if you'd like to compare those.
No.
The final announcement I have is with regard to Beach Drive. In July, the National Park Service indicated at a public presentation that it would take comments in November on its proposed environmental assessment for the future plans for the northern section of Beach Drive, which is, of course, as we know, been closed to vehicular traffic since early in the pandemic. I asked today, Julia Washburn, who's the superintendent of National Park Service for Rock Creek Park, when she could expect a decision. It had originally been planned for late December, and here it is late December, and we're almost late December, and we're not close to having a decision. So she said that they are, in her words, a bit behind schedule because they have a lot of data to analyze. And they now plan to release the environmental assessment in January for a 45-day comment period. And then the decision would be made at some point after that comment period closes. There's more information available on the National Park Service website. If you'll search for National Park Service, Rock Creek Park, Beach Drive, you can easily find it. And that's the announcements that I have. Any other questions from commissioners first, or if any commissioners have announcements? Several. John.
I have just a brief update on the status of the proposed field at the Episcopal Center for Children. Just briefly, I'll just read this right out. A group is formed to address the concerns about the proposed playing field at the Episcopal Center for Children, which calls for landscaping changes to the field. The center has leased the field to the Murray School, which has proposed the creation of football, soccer, and baseball fields at the site. The citizens group will be following Murray's application to the DC Board of Zoning Adjustment and has engaged legal counsel for that effort. And I'm going to give you the email for that group. They're in the process of designing a website, but that is not up yet. So the email for the group is friendsofthefield20015@gmail.com. And I don't send a note to Connie for putting this stuff on our website. Maybe, I don't know, Connie, can you put that in the chat for tonight? Have you got it handy?
I can put the I can try to put the I have trouble copy and pasting for some reason always on these, but I can try to put that link. We have a dedicated web page for Murray and ECC. It's under task forces and issue areas, that tab. If you look down that menu, you'll see it. Just so everyone knows verbally, and I'll try to go do that now.
We'll put that in our website,
and
people can access it there. Excuse me, the second item related to this is that December 15th at 6 p.m. Murray will host a virtual community outreach meeting. To register for the meeting, use the school's URL address for this project and just scroll down to the tab to register. again, maybe we can put that in our website as well, the school's URL for its ECC field project. And lastly, Randy and I have been working with some of the residents, and we have formed a small advisory group to assist the ANC in addressing resident concerns with a range of input from different perspectives on the field, and we will be including people from Friends of the Field on that advisory group as well. So that is it for the ECC project at this time.
John, you might mention that it's going to be before our next meeting, so we might as well announce it now that Councilmember Louis George is also holding a meeting on January 6th
Right.
On this topic. And I don't have offhand the way to get to register for that meeting. But
It's on the website.
It's on our website.
I
On
put
our
it on the
website.
website
Okay,
the
great.
other day. Yeah, it's
Great.
uploaded there. So
Actually, I think both the Murray and the Louis George items are on our website.
Okay, good. Thank you, Connie, for being so diligent
Thank
getting
you.
those things on. We really appreciate it.
absolutely.
Okay, any other questions from commissioners about the ECC? Connie, you have announcements?
I have an announcement. Yes.
Right.
So I wanted to let folks know that we will be having, my SMD 05, we're going to have a conversation on Friday at 2 p.m. With DDOT on putting speed bumps or speed tables. We're trying to decide which one on Broad Branch Road between Legation and Morrison, like that strip. We'll see. I'd like to do speed tables because there are trucks that go by, and there were neighbors, just a few, who were really concerned about the noise, the vibrations and everything. So we'll have DDOT there to discuss it, and we're open. And that's something that a resident, Christopher Rowland, put together months ago. They had the TSI, the Traffic Safety Investigation Study, and DDOT recommended speed humps. But some residents, because they were concerned about the noise, were going to decide on the two. So I just wanted everyone to know, and I will put that information out by email to the neighbors who sent me their concerns, as well as on my ANC Facebook page, and I'll try to put it here if I can. If I'm able to copy and paste. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else have, any commissioners have announcements? Michael. You're muted, Michael.
I guess I'll announce on behalf of Lisa, because I don't know if she's coming or not, that as you know, we passed the resolution on redistricting last meeting, where the majority of the commission
Michael,
suggested.
Can we wait? That's on the agenda. So.
Okay, I didn't know whether that was an announcement or.
No, it's on the agenda, and we were going to go with the community center library ahead of that, but it is on the agenda.
Okay, okay, sorry.
Okay.
I thought it was part of this announcement. I didn't realize it was a full agenda item.
Yep.
My mistake.
Okay, any community announcements? I see several people who normally have announcements out there. If you would raise your hand, I'll promote you and make you I see Alex would like to make an announcement, so I'll change his role to panelist. Okay, Alex.
Good evening, and thank you all for your time. I only have one announcement this evening, which is really more of a pre-announcement. Over the last couple of weeks, I've had email communication with Commissioners Chang and Commissioners Gosselin about the community message board sign. Since I last was able to share information at one of these meetings, I've had the opportunity to confirm interest with PNC Bank, specifically PNC's bank's senior property manager, Lisa Benjamin. Lisa requested that the Main Street submit an application to her so that she could share directly with PNC's regional property management team to make a final approval for the project. There isn't a strict application template or anything that we're using. She asked that a description of the project be provided alongside of a budget, as well as sort of photos of reference message boards and things of that nature. Connie had most recently asked if I could look through and see if I could confirm some of the property lines. There was a question as to whether or not the grass that was envisioned where the community message board could stand was part of the PNC's property. Using the DC real property database, it appears so, but I want to confirm with PNC before I share the application with this group. My hope is that I can share an application with this group to both ask for a community grant alongside the Main Street spending to support the project, as well as otherwise a letter of support for the project. The Main Street is going to continue finalizing this application and hopes to share it at the next ANC meeting.
Alex, I raised a question about where the sign would be located, because it's not just whether it's on PNC property, because in the district there's a difference between what constitutes the owner's property and where the building restriction line is. Mm-hmm. And the building restriction line frequently goes beyond the private property, and so that private property can still be in what's called public space. Mm-hmm. And if it's in public space, even though it's on private property, it requires a permit. And so that's the question that I had, is whether the location of this proposed sign is in public space. Now, that doesn't prevent it from happening. It just means that you've got to get a permit. Mm-hmm. And that there's a process that we would have to go through to do that.
Peter, do you have a question? Yeah.
Question, I think it's more to Randy. In the torturous process of trying to figure out where to put a community message board, there's been a lot of talk about the rules that we would have to comply with to be on public property. If it's in the building restriction zone, do we have to conform to all of those things? Because then we're doomed again, but or we're facing a large expense.
It's not necessarily a large expense. I mean, for instance, let me just give one example. The bench that is in front of the community center that is dedicated now to Julian Bond, has a plaque on it from Julian Bond. We had to go through a public space permit process. Eventually we got around that for putting in that bench. The public space, the parameters of public space on Connecticut Avenue go really all the way up to the face of the buildings. And all of that is public space. And I think that's true on Morrison Street as well, that it goes right up to the face of the building. I looked on the maps to see where the building restriction line was. But it doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be a long, expensive process. It could be relatively straightforward. And I've had another instance. I was attending a public space meeting once when they were putting in a piece of sculpture in front of St. Matthew's Cathedral. And it was, it was a wonderful piece of sculpture, but it had to have a public space permit just to be able to get it there. So I think anything that goes in public space like that is going to have a permit.
What I am working with is the understanding of how I've worked with a couple of other businesses in the area, which has to do with being 5 feet from the front of the business to allow space for signage, and that the bulletin board may be able to count as signage related to the business instead of a permit. This is something I'm still trying to confirm as to the email thread that Connie had messaged, and my plan is to return to the next meeting with a more concrete answer on that.
Good. Peter?
Related to both Alex and Amir, remember to send me text.
My apologies.
Okay, any other questions for Alex? Okay, Amir?
Hi, thank you. So good evening, everyone. My name is Amir Gurabantab. I serve as one of the Ward 3 liaisons from the mayor's office, and I have a few updates to provide tonight. I was going to start with the DPW leaf blowing update, but Commissioner Speck beat me to the punch. I just wanted to add on the fact that there is an interactive map that you can check your street to see what days the passes are listed for. I'm going to put that in the chat. And you can also bring your bagged leaves to the Fort Totten transfer station at 4900 Bates Road Northeast. It's open Monday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So that's if you don't want to wait for your collection pass. Moving on, MPD has begun conducting a traffic safety campaign targeting safety around school zones. The goal is to provide additional safety measures in school zones for all drivers, bicyclists, and pedestrians during high pedestrian traffic times. So there will be 7 MPD officers, 1 from each police district, to be assigned, focusing on enforcement education around school zones. They're going to travel between different schools in their police districts. And the safety enforcement will take place 3 hours prior to school arrival time and 3 hours after dismissal time. Officers will also be focused on distracted driving, speeding, stop sign violations, and pedestrian violations. And there will be school resource officers to distribute traffic safety literature to roadway users in school areas to remind them to slow down and follow the rules of the road. Also moving on, the DMV ticket amnesty program is still in effect until the end of 2021. So what that is a deferral of any late fees and penalties for any sort of traffic or parking photo ticket that you have on your license. But as soon as 2022 hits, they're going to start adding those penalties and fees. So make sure to pay it off before the end of the year. DC residents can also now schedule at-home coronavirus vaccinations, including for any family member 5 and older. You can make appointments by calling 1-855-363-0333. And vaccinations are available at libraries now. And I'd also like to share a few upcoming events, starting with, of course, the Housing Equity Update at Rock Creek West. I just want to reinforce how important that is and to let me know if you wish to come. I'll probably be there as well. Also, this week we have on Wednesday the Senior Holiday Party, which is going to be held from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Convention Center downtown. It's open to any residents age 60 and older. And I'm going to put a link in the chat for that as well. And we also have the annual Fresh Start 5K on January 1st, 2022, going to be held at 10 a.m. at Anacostia Park. And that's just to promote healthy habits this new year. I'm going to put both the links in the chat below. And if you're interested, please let me know. And moving on, I can take any questions from the community.
Thank you, Amir. Any questions from commissioners?
To everyone.
Thank you for those posts, Amir.
Thank you.
Michael has his hand.
Michael?
So Amir, I just have one quick question about the, not the leaf collection, but rather the gas leaf prohibition, gas-powered leaf prohibition,
Yeah,
which takes place, starts on January 1. So as I wander around the neighborhood, there are a lot of really small, there are a lot of big landscaping companies, but there are a lot of small one-person business leaf people. And I've been asking them about, are they aware of the rule and will they be able to comply with it? And most of them are more or less aware of it. All of them say they've been having a hell of a time getting electric powered blowers, that the big companies have essentially bought them out. The prices are beyond their means to purchase them. They're terrified that they're going to be fined. And I don't know what to, I don't know what the city council was thinking about this and its impact on, the mom and pop person who, in a COVID environment with a backlog of equipment in stores, what is there anything I can tell them, or are they just flat out of luck? And if on January 2 they blow their leaves with gas, they're going to get $100 fine?
So to address that, it is very soon, but what I can do is on their behalf, I can see if there's any organizations within the mayor's office like DEMPED that might provide assistance to businesses, small business owners in getting that transition. I can see if that's a possibility. What you can do is if you have any email chains with them to forward that to me to see if
None of
there's
them,
anything.
none of them really have email.
Okay, well, that's fine. You know, we can just, I can see what they have. I can see if there's any options for them in that regard, but it is coming quite soon. So I don't know what to say as far as if I can confirm that's a possibility.
I mean, was it, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to take up more of our time, but what was there
Matt-
any thought about the impact on the cost impact on
There
the,
was a rebate. There's a rebate that's provided. They're
if you-
given a rebate. That's been going on for a long time. They've announced that.
Matthew Landrew has a link to a DC SEUs, a Sustainable Energy Utility. And I think they are the ones who are dispensing the rebate program. And they should contact the DCA Sustainable Energy Utility. I think that's the right place to go.
all right,
The other thing is that I think this was passed like a year and a half ago. And
Yes.
the phase-in period was a very long period before it took effect. It's not like it was imposed within the last month or two. It's been in place for, I think, about a year and a half.
right. But that presupposes, Randy, that the people about whom I'm speaking knew of this and
Yeah, I don't know.
and in the pandemic, when they were struggling just to stay alive, were worried about this rebate program. I'm just saying that I'm just complaining on their behalf that yeah, there was a long run up and maybe there's some subsidy they can't get. They really have a hard time getting blowers that are powerful enough for them to do their job. It just seems to me that something should be thought about given where we are for businesses that are, under 5 people, under, that sort of thing. And I would wonder, Amir, if this is something that can be socialized somewhere. What does Matt say? Good point that we should be mindful about.
Yeah, and Kevin Mulshine asked about DC Cruise. I just saw that they were trying to sell their equipment. There was a big sale, I guess, just maybe 2 days ago. They're trying to get rid of their inventory and purchasing electric powered
right
lawn.
One of the lawn care people that I spoke to, a small person who mostly works in Maryland, who uses gas. He said he's got high efficiency gas equipment, which is actually quieter than the electric equipment. So I don't know.
Those.
Sorry?
I haven't heard any of those. Those
You're not a gardener.
gas powered ones are really loud.
They're so
But
loud.
You're not a gardener, and this is what he tells me.
Well,
But anyway, the point is, Amir and Matt, if you guys can take a look at this, because I really am concerned that this is going to have a very profound impact on these small businesses. They're not going to be able to comply. And if they start getting fined, the financial impact on their families who are really just hanging on at the moment is going to be profound.
Right. I hear your concern. Let me flag it up and maintain contact with you in the meantime.
Thank you, Amir.
Okay. Thank you, Amir. Amir's put some other information in the chat too that people might want to take a look at. Matthew Landrew has also put some information in the chat from Councilmember Louis George's office, and everyone can take a look at that. I also see D. Smith has put a notice about leaf collection in the chat. Just for everyone's information, we are all located in Section A, which she indicates is 99% complete with the first pass. And the second pass is supposed to begin December 19th. And we are the first ones slated for the second pass in our area. But both the Ward 3 and Ward 4 portions of our ANC are scheduled for collection for the second time, beginning the week after December 19th. Okay, let me make Amir an attendee once more. And I think then we were ready to start the rest of the meeting. I don't think there's anyone else who has their hand up. Okay, so I will begin by giving a report on the Community Center Library Affordable Housing Campus capital budget for FY 2023. Okay.
Randy, if can I just add, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can I go back 1 second? I just want to add one thing to the minutes. I'm going online to look at commercial electric leaf blowers. And they're $400, $500, $600. And the rebate program is $75. So if you've got a crew of 3 people, that's your whole team. You got a crew of 3 people, and you're looking at $2,000 in leaf blower costs. You're going to get $75 per leaf blower. It's a rebate without meaning.
I'm not sure what we can do about it at this stage. We did have an ANC meeting on this about 2 years ago when the legislation was being proposed. And we had actually someone who is a small business lawn care person who came to our meeting and talked about what impact it would have on him and his business. We ultimately did not pass a resolution at that point. There were some differences of opinion about the scope of the legislation and whether it should include other kinds of gas-powered lawn equipment. But I'm not sure what we can do at this stage to address the question of the cost.
Well, that's why Janice's person is here, and that's why Amir is here, because
Okay.
as we get close and we see the unintended consequence or the unthought through consequence of this, it's never too late to sort of raise your hand and say, wait a second, can we have some sort of carve out or delay or something?
John?
Just briefly, as we all know, during COVID, a lot of city regulations were suspended. I don't know if Matthew or Amir could pursue that tack on this. COVID and the leaf season may not have coincided during the COVID period, but nonetheless, I think maybe some kind of COVID-related suspension of the regulations could be in order. That's just an idea, just a suggestion.
Okay. D. Smith is here too from Councilmember Che's office, and Councilmember Che sponsored this legislation. So maybe she should be contacted first of all. Okay, and Dee is suggesting you can reach out to her, Michael. Okay, we ready to go on to the next topic then? Okay. I met with, at the mayor's request, I got an invitation earlier this week, or last week, end of last week, by the mayor to come to a meeting in her office to talk about, well, I didn't know what she wanted to talk about at first. I later found out it was related to the community center and library and affordable housing, the issues that we had raised previously. And I had talked to several of the key people in the mayor's administration, to Rich Reyes-Galvin, who is the head of the director for the library, and John Falchucchio, who is the deputy mayor for planning and economic development. And also we'd had some email conversations, at least with Andrew Trueblood at the Office of Planning. And our basic pitch was that we needed to coordinate all of that effort and make sure that the budget for FY 2023 reflects that overall plan for working on a consolidated campus. that would address all three of those elements: the library, the community center, and the affordable housing generally, and affordable housing in particular. The mayor had a little briefing package from her staff, but she had not really familiarized herself with it. And so part of the meeting was just getting her up to speed on where we were, what the numbers are in the budget now. She is very supportive of the consolidated effort. She's very pleased that it includes a housing and affordable housing component. She reminded us, which I think we already knew, that the Housing Production Trust Fund does not, there's not specific money earmarked in the capital budget from the Housing Production Trust Fund. That comes along at a later process after there is a proposal. And then they apply to the Housing Production Trust Fund to get subsidies for affordable housing there. So really what we're focusing on, she is focusing on, is the budget for the library and the community center. We did talk about the need to coordinate the timing for those elements of the budget, so that I was particularly strong, I think, in saying that we need to start this in fiscal year 2023. That should be a very important planning year for this project. She was, I think, hesitant to go out for as she suggested, an RFP for a proposal until the small area plan is completed. She says that it's sort of jumping the gun to do that without having the small area plan in place. Andrew Trueblood indicated that he still believes that the Office of Planning is going to get the small area plan out to the council. He said in the spring. That's a 3-month time span. I don't know when exactly in the spring that means, but that, and then I said, we will press the council to act quickly on it, assuming it's one that a small area plan that we can support, and that we'll do everything we can to move the process along, consistent with making sure that we have complete and totally participation by the community and by the ANC. The mayor is very supportive, though, of this concept, the concept of consolidated program. The director, Grace Galvin, was talked a couple of times about how the combination of a community center, a rec center, and library has not always worked out well for the library. But that was because he said that they had not been involved in the process from the beginning. He said this will be different because they are going to be partners from the start. And he said, as he's told me previously, that there are going to be some synergies that can be achieved by coordinating their scheduling of meeting room space, for instance, and making sure that they're using the space in both buildings as efficiently as possible. And he's really looking forward to, he particularly because the library has been a leader in many respects in getting sort of iconic architecture built at libraries around the city, that he wants to have something that's going to be really spectacular, something that we're going to all be very, very proud of, not just another box sitting there. So, and I think the library is going to be a very good partner in this process. There was no one for DPR there, which was a little disappointing, but I think DPR will come along. Now, insofar as what's going to happen on Thursday, I don't know. She was, in fact, the mayor seemed a little surprised that she said, "Oh, there's a meeting on Thursday." And I don't think somebody's writing it, I'm sure, writing a script for her, but I don't know whether that's been written yet, and I don't know what that's going to entail. I encouraged her to say, you know, this is going to be that the city is behind having a combined campus here, as we have proposed for a long time, and that the city will support it. That's what I encouraged her to say. I don't know what she'll say. Peter?
I'm a little confused about the mayor's talk about an RFP and our talk about getting the capital budgets together. It seems to me that we're asking for something prior to an RFP, something that.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's going to happen. That's going to happen.
That is a thing that she's committed to doing.
Yes, the budget will be taken care of. It's the timing of when we can get the project off and running. And, you know, as we're all anxious to see that project go forward as quickly as we can. But she wants to wait until after the small area plan is completed before, you know, what they typically do is they send out an RFP just for proposals. What do you have in mind? Give us some idea of what we can do here. And I think she wants to wait on that until later. But that doesn't change the budgeting process. The budgeting process will still be for the capital budget for FY23. I'm hoping, based on what we discussed today, that that's going to include sufficient money in FY23 to start the project, meaning start the design, start the planning, all of that.
So you've been involved in this longer than I have, but it seems to me that that accomplishes two things. One is it basically forces these two public agencies into a cooperative agreement, the Department of Parks and Recreation and the library. And two, it provides a least level of money to do the plan, to start the plan.
Right.
That seems a huge accomplishment right there. If we could get that done going into, and we keep talking about fiscal 23, but just so people understand, this is fiscal 22 for the capital budget. So it's next fiscal year that we're talking about.
Starts in October.
This one.
Right. No, I think everyone is on board with that. Although I haven't heard directly from DPR, but I think there seems to be within the administration a consensus that that's what ought to happen. Connie?
Progress. That's progress, because last year I seem to remember being at a meeting with you where the council chair basically was happy to see it put off for some future period.
Yeah, I think everyone understands. I told the mayor in no uncertain terms, you know, we're not going to let this just sit. We want to move it forward. I said, you know, the community needs a new community center and new library, and we need to focus on housing too. So, and it's right in her wheelhouse. These are the mayor's issues. Connie?
So I'm slightly confused, which is that it seems like there really is no issue. Like even with an RFP, if we're talking FY 2023, that's October. So that would, an RFP for something like that really would come after the small area plan, because we're starting in, you know, January, we're going to go into this next, and more seriously, this next phase of the small area plan. We're going to have a back and forth, and hopefully by spring, the council will have it and it will be done. And then really that summer, nothing much happens. And then in the fall, we're right there. So I don't see really a delay here. I think
the delay that the mayor suggested was at the council. She said the council is not going to act on this anytime soon. They're just not going to have it's not going to be a priority for them. They're not going to act on it. And I told
plan.
Yeah. I told her.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
We're going to be pushing the council to do it.
Okay.
We're not going to just let it sit at the council either. If it's something we support, we're going to ask them to get it to
I don't
approve.
see why she thinks that, because council member Che is very much involved.
Well,
I mean, so I don't see, I mean, I don't
I
understand.
think you know her experience with the council, not always
I see.
completely harmonious.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think she
Okay.
believes that the council just will not act quickly on this.
Okay, so I have a second question. All right, so with this housing production trust fund, in terms of like you have a proposal, then you go ask for money. Well, to have the proposal means it's not just going to be DCPL, like the public library, DPR. It's got to be DGS. We have to have the other component that would design housing, correct? So
Yeah,
we
but
have to have them at the table for the design part, for it to be like a harmonious,
well,
like a design that works, and it can't just be those two agencies.
I think the expectation is that it's going to be not only the public agencies, but that there will be private parties like Habitat for Humanity, for instance, or whoever wants to come make a proposal for development of the housing component. And it's not going to be DGS. It's not going to build it.
Yeah, you're right.
as
I see.
public
Yeah,
housing.
they're not right. They're not going to build it, but they won't. That's right. That's right. That's right.
So it's
So they're going to need that third
requires
party.
it requires another partner who's going to do the housing component, and that's the one that you would go out for an RFP for.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much,
And
Randy, for that.
presumably, it would be, it would all be built. One contractor ultimately who's going to do the whole thing, not separate.
Like you mean like a general manager?
A
like
general
for that-
contractor,
right?
that would
Right.
do the whole thing.
Like Connie, you remember in the information sessions that we had it with a contracting, a construction, design build construction firm that did libraries and other things. It's
Yeah.
people like that
Yeah.
that they'll have to contract with, which is why so many developers are so keen on this small area plan allowing for growth, because that's what they want to bid on.
Yeah. I mean, but in terms of this public, property portion of it, I guess
They're going to
the
still have
mayor
to.
has to, right, the mayor has to come out with the intention, right? And hopefully the small area plan will have that intention. And then the council will then agree to that intention. And then people will then galvanize to try to figure out how to build this kind of housing that works with the two public institutions, right? The two things.
Well, but it'll be a public-private partnership.
Right. And
Right.
how to
Right.
finance it too, because
Yeah,
that's going to be an
it's gonna be
important
hard.
component. And that's where
Right.
the Housing Production Trust Fund comes in. They would then seek funding from the Housing Production Trust Fund to support the affordable housing component.
Yeah.
John?
I got up to see if I could find the yellow book that OP put out on the Chevy Chase small area plan. We're in terms of the chicken egg situation on the plan versus the library complex. It's like item number 8 in that plan foresees this eventuality of having a combined campus with housing. So we don't need to delay the complex project to wait for the SAP, because I think the SAP fully endorses this whole concept from the start.
You mean in the comprehensive plan? Is that what you're talking about, John?
No, he's talking about the brochure with the vision and goals.
Oh,
But
well,
that's still not the final yet. That's just the
No.
beginning. That's
That's
just
But
putting it
it
out
gives
there.
a pretty solid endorsement to this
Well,
idea.
yeah, but I don't think we can count on it until it's done. I mean, and that's what the mayor is saying basically is,
Right.
we'll
We have to wait for the community. We have to wait for the community
we'll wait for the community, and then we'll wait for the council ultimately.
Right.
And that's what the mayor is saying.
Right. I think what we're trying to do here is to have this conversation so that we're teeing it up, because we don't want a huge delay. That's a problem, right?
Right.
I mean, we're going to be sitting there indefinitely. So we're teeing it up, and it's okay to have these conversations, even if in the end, if something were to change, then okay. But still, I think that they're slated to be modernized, the two buildings. They should talk to each other no matter what, I think.
Right.
DPR and DCPL.
Peter.
I think somebody ought to address Michelle Wallen's question. Over and above the small area plan, the question of community input to in the process of developing the community center library. She writes, please allow sufficient independent community input into this. I hope the ANC isn't so eager to rush this through that there isn't proper community input. The community should have a voice, not just the ANC. Do you want to address?
Agreed completely. And, we've got a head start on this because we've got a lengthy study. Connie was very a significant contributor to it on the community center. And we looked at what the community wants in that community center. And we're going to have to do something similar to that when we get ready to go for this whole project. It's going to have, because we're going to have to decide, we're going to have to recommend what's going to be included in the community center and the library and the housing and all of that. And that's going to have to be another community process. And Michelle, that study is available in our on our website. It's under, I think it's task forces, issue areas under community center. There's a lengthy study there.
Could I just ask?
Yes, Peter.
That I actually have never looked at that study, and I will.
It's good.
That, and I'm sorry about this for Connie's sake and for all the sake of the people who put a lot of effort into it. My sense is the whole world has changed. I mean, that was a moment where we saw two separate institutions needing to build.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I said
Yeah,
was,
but that's
we're
analogous.
gonna have to do something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
that's not the be all and end all. But it does inform what we do going forward, because we looked at things like, do people want a gym in the community center? And there was some interest in doing that. And we had a plan for how we could do that. There was a lot of interest in having an auditorium, a real auditorium where you could even hold plays, or you could have movies there, or you could do all kinds of things there. The ballet floor, the fencing, all of that. We looked at what should that building be able to do. And so we've got a lot of information about that, and we don't necessarily have to go back and ask people again, do you want to have ballet there? We know they want to have ballet there. That kind of thing hasn't changed, I don't think.
But that helped. But that helped
together, and how you integrate that with the library, that's brand new. And what the library should be like, given the fact that libraries are very different now than they were in the 1970s when that building was built.
Yeah, and I think that what Randy's talking about, that sort of study with the survey to the community and then further meetings and so forth, that was the underlying basis for what to ask for in terms of a budget. So I think that we need to have these conversations to know what's doable. When you ask for too little money, you're not, and it takes a year for it to start, prices may go up again, and then you can't do what you want to do. So we have to be realistic. And now with all the shortages in supply, we got to account for all of those things.
Yeah, I made that point today as well. They have to have a realistic budget, given today's circumstances, not the circumstances that existed 2 or 3 years ago when those budgets were originally proposed.
And it's our one shot. We're not going to do this again. It's disruptive. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of money, and we want to do it as bright as we can, I think. So, anyway, we will definitely get community input. We have to. It's imperative. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, all of that open space that was also a big part of the study that we did on the community center, is to make sure that we continue to have open space. And that's also been discussed in connection with the small area plan as recently as the walk that I attended on Saturday. People were talking about that.
Yeah, and in the information exchange, the 6th one that we produced, we talked a lot about that, the civic space and how to use it, and how to have the east side of Connecticut Avenue where the community center is respond to the other side? You know, how do you work together as a corridor? Those are all things that, you know, urban designers and architects can help us think through. So we do need that. And it would be really nice if we had something that really worked, I think, that brought the community together, especially post-COVID, if we ever get there.
Okay,
Should
any
we move
other?
on, Randy?
Yeah, I think we
It's
should.
8 o'clock.
Okay, and let's go to the small area plan report, process
I-
report.
I have some updates to share.
Okay.
Okay, so I asked Erkin and Heba about how many people came to the community walks. There were 3 that took place, and there were about 35 to 40 who showed up for each of the walks. So about 100 or so of our neighbors came, and some of them are repeats. So Randy, I think you went twice. I only went once. I saw Commissioner Gore there after the second one on December 8th, and they OP said. Eric and Heba both said that they heard great input about what people value and hope to see in the community, which mostly echoed what they had already heard so far in their engagement efforts since March when this small area plan was launched. They fielded a lot of questions on the full range of topics that's, you know, related to the SAP and beyond. And in general, they thought that they had a pretty positive response to the walks and that the neighbors appreciated the opportunity to hear from each other and from OP. And that definitely was reflective of my experience when I walked with Heba, and we went north, and I think Randy, you went with Erican and you guys went south. So I think they split up duties, and most likely they're going to look through the 3 walks and what they heard about each of these sites that they did. What I also heard is that they, on that first walk, the long-awaited contractor for the design charrette, Cunningham Quill, that was secured. What OP told us was that they tried a different way to get this contract done, and it worked, and they were able to bring them on board. And Cunningham Quill showed up at the walks. They were there to hear. They had several staff people in both subgroups, and they are going to work on the design charrette, and that Link Strategic Partners. Josh, I forget Josh's last name, sorry, but Josh was the person who facilitated the visioning workshops that took place this past spring. They're still on board and they're going to still facilitate. And the new news is that the design charrette, they're going to finalize this, but will take place Saturday, January 22nd in person. They heard from the community. They heard from the advisory group that Peter and I are members of, and people were really hoping for in person, really didn't want virtual, and they're going to try to make this work. And maybe it's going to take place at Deal Middle School, which is a great, you know, it's a great place to have it. So it's not final though, but they're hoping Saturday, January 22nd. And then 2 weeks after that, meaning the people who cannot show up in person for whatever reason, they will have a survey, which is what they did with the visioning workshop. You know, they had the visioning workshop where you can come virtually, and then there was a survey that was online. They're going to do the same thing after the design charrette. There will no longer be a design survey in between the community walk and the design charrette. So I clarified that. That's not going to happen now. And I think that they're not going to do that. So they're going to finish the community walks right now, and they're going to gear up and plan for this January 22nd design charrette in person. I don't know what they're going to do in between, but there's going to be no design survey. There's only going to be a survey after that design charrette. And that's all the news that I have on that. And I'm going to ask them for a revised vision and goals document. You know, that the period for comment was very extended, and a lot of people put in their comments online. And I was told by OP maybe a month and a half ago that they were going to look through all the comments and then revise that document as they move forward with this one. So it's going to be the full, you know, the complete plan will be drafted at some point, but I'm hoping to see that particular portion of it, the revision. And I would love to see the existing conditions report at some point, which we still haven't seen. I'm hoping that they'll give us something. And that's all I have. Oh, two more things. Sorry. That is not all I have. I have two more things. I am going to try to organize two more information exchange sessions, Thursday, January 13th and Thursday, January 20th. Nothing on the books yet, but I'm hoping I can bring speakers again on a topic related to the small area plan to help all of us become more informed in being able to provide our input, as effectively as possible, when we're asked to. And that's it. That's all I have. I turn it to Peter.
Nothing.
Okay.
Okay. I'm hoping that the venue that they choose is going to be a large one where we can have as many people there as we want to come.
Deal Middle School, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've never been to the auditorium at Deal. I don't know how big it is.
it's very large. It's very large. So I think it's a good space, and the hallways are wide. There's also the gym. I don't know where they're going to have it. So I guess they're in conversation to try to figure that out. We'll see. Yeah. But at least that's the intention, is in person, which is what we wanted, so that we could have, against the walls, pictures, and people can go to the wall and put Post-its up. There's much more interaction. I'm just hoping that, COVID and everything, we're going to be okay. We just double mask, whatever, and get in there and do what we need to do. But we can be with everyone, which is nice.
Good.
That's it.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Peter.
With John's backing, I got the permission from my fellow commissioners to do some research about communications and about the price of sending out cards to everyone. I haven't done it because we've been focused on the district.
Yeah.
Right. So I do want to say that I did ask OP. I was like, look, there are still people who don't know about the small area plan. What are you going to do before this design charrette comes out, right? And they said that they are going to do a promotion. They're going to do another postcard mailer, posters, online, and so forth. I think likely we'll have another CAC meeting. We can press them at that meeting, because they have to have a meeting before they plan this design charrette. So I think we can press them to put out a bigger mailer if they can. So we'll see. But that's something that we need to do. And I personally would like posters. I think the community walk poster was really nice. If they could just have a poster that says the small area plan is in this next phase, publicinput.com/Chevy Chase is the place to go, or contact, any of the advisory members, whatever. I think they have to do something. So we can press them on that, Peter, and get more detail on what they're willing to do, and then what we can do as commissioners.
Yeah, I'll just mention, I had a conversation again today with Citizen Lab, and the Office of Advisory Neighborhood Commissions is in active conversation with Citizen Lab now to go with just them with what they're calling a communications piece, which would enable us to get the word out more easily than the way we're doing it right now. And an engagement piece that would be separate, and probably not all ANCs would take advantage of it, but I think we would. And so it's still in the works, but and nothing is moving quickly at OANC, but someday maybe we're going to have those tools.
Just to be clear,
Okay.
we're in a world where a few months here, so.
I'm not sure that we can do anything more. Well, I don't know. Does anyone else want to talk about the redistricting issue? Michael was prepared to do it earlier. At least it's still here.
But we have the raise right now. That's
and I don't. Lisa was going to report on that too.
Oh, okay. So we're going to skip it. So then I guess
Yeah.
Michael should talk about redistricting then.
Well, there's not that much to talk about other than to provide the update, which is in the aftermath of the resolution, the council went ahead on the first vote and voted, I think, 11-1 to keep the boundaries intact. We have written to, or Lisa has spoken with Janice's office and Mary Che's office. We've tried to reach Mendelssohn's office with no success. The community is circulating a petition for those interested in signing it. I think it's on Chevy Chase Chatter and other places. As I understand it, Councilmember Che said she's not keen on moving forward with this unless there is a community sort of
Groundswell.
onslaught or mandate,
Groundswell.
groundswell or tsunami or some sort. Janice seems completely disinterested in it, but nonetheless, we will continue to try to reach out to Janice and to Mary Che and to other members of the commission, of the council rather, to explain what the commission's thinking was behind this. And we'll see where they end up on their second vote, which is December 21, Randy, is that right? Yeah.
Mhm.
December 21.
And the other thing, Michael, is that I think some of the petition organizers made very clear to Council Member Janice Lewis George that it was not about her, right? That this push for reunification had to do with sort of just the structure of the thing, being taken out, that it had nothing to do about performance or anything. They wanted to make that very clear to her, which I think we share the same sentiments.
Right, and in fact, there's a letter, Connie, I think you have the last draft. If you get it to me, I will finalize it to Janice saying that exactly. I don't know whether your last draft was edited in any way by Lisa.
It was. That was the last draft. So that was sent to all of us and it stayed there. So we'll talk after.
If you send it to me, I will finalize it. Lisa gave me her authority to finalize it. So if someone will send me that, what is the latest draft, I will finalize it and circulate it.
Okie dokie.
John?
I had occasion to talk to Carolyn Cook, who was one of the chief drivers of the petition. And the petition drive closes on December 15th. But nonetheless, people can contact city council members, I guess, up until the morning of the 21st, if they have any strong views about this.
Yeah, I think that they were hoping to just add up, just sort of send to the council what they have, and then potentially right before December 21st, if there's additional signatures and so forth, that they would forward that on. So that's what I heard about the petition. And I believe they have a Facebook page as well, so people should look for that. Reunite Ward 3.
Okay, any other comments or questions about that? We're zipping right along here.
I'm getting excited, Randy. We might be done before 9.
As they say, a new indoor record.
Right.
I'm thinking of filibustering to make sure that we go at least a minute over.
Should have known.
You'll go, just one more thing, just one more thing.
Just one more thing.
Okay, let's go to commission business. We have the minutes for the November 8th and the November 22nd meetings that have been circulated. And Peter has circulated what is a revised version after a couple of comments from Connie and from me. Any other changes or modifications to those two? Peter, you want to move their admission or their adoption?
Move their approval.
Okay. A second? There's a second. All those in favor?
Michael.
5-0. Okay, thank you. John, we have checks.
2 checks. One is for Zoom reimbursement to Randy Speck for $222.58. We also received an IRS communication covering the period of March 2020 for $50.93. I tried to get in touch with IRS about it. The wait time was an hour. This goes back to the previous administration. I'm not quite sure what the reason here is, but it has to do with the 941 employee reports. but I was just recommended to get it behind us. I think trying to find
Okay.
out what it's all about could be more.
So are we approving both checks or just the Zoom check?
Both, the IRS and the Zoom.
Okay, all right. Is there a second for approving those? All those in favor? 5-0, okay. Connie, you want to talk about the job description for the commission's executive administrative assistant and a recruiting strategy?
Okay, sure. I put out a sort of draft executive administrative assistant job description back in late October, and I have not. I've received 3 out of the 6 commissioners' edits or reviews, but I have not. It has not come back completely. But I think we're almost there. I really think we've got to get this out. I think the strategy should be that we certainly post it in all of the neighborhood listservs. I intend to post it on the Lafayette, Deal, and Wilson weekly newsletter. I'm going to do that. And I have looked at other job postings around the city, and I will try to do that and try to get in on the LinkedIn one if I can. And also send it to the ANC-wide commissioner group, so that everyone knows that we are looking for someone in case there's any other commissions that have a person who is willing to, spare the time, meaning the 10 hours a week that we need, they could perhaps provide, then that would work for us, I think. And so I think that it should be John Higgins. All the responses should go to Higgins because he's treasurer. That's what I would like for us to recommend, is that that all of the sort of applications go to John, then John collects them. John forms some kind of panel amongst us to look through them, and then we can decide on the criteria. But I can maybe share some of the position description. Should I do that, Randy, or should I just post it on the website as a draft?
Just
for
post it
now?
on the website, I think.
Okay, I'll just do that. I will post it as a draft announcement and people can see it as it is. And I might add just a few of John and Randy's edits so that I can turn around like that sort of final draft copy, and then we'll see how it goes and see what kind of interest we get. But I would like to put John's name in there as long as John agrees.
That would be
Which
fine. My response,
I didn't ask
I
you.
guess. But the response should be my ANC email address rather
Yes.
than the service. I do check the mail every week, but I think the email is a much better
Yes.
vehicle.
We're going to ask for emails. There's just no way. Snail mail
Right.
is too slow now. It's
Yeah.
not trustworthy. So I think that I can clean this up quickly. I was waiting for Lisa. I think I don't know where she is on that, but I think it should just go. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I think we have what we need there, and we'll see what candidates we get. And I'm really hoping that people will try to ask their friends to apply, frankly.
Are we putting in a deadline, a response deadline?
I think we should go until the end of January. That's what I would propose, because we're at December 13th now. It's the holidays. I mean, forget it. I think it's going to be very difficult. So if we just say January, what's the last business, the working day in January? We could just say post it as January 28th. How's that? So it's not the exact end of the
Right.
thing,
That's
but
fine.
Friday, January 28th, and we'll just go. We'll see what we get. If we get a flood of applications, I'll be very happy. If we get just a few, hopefully they're the best, and we're going to find someone who can help us.
Well, the community is going to be very excited about being able to communicate with John Higgins, so that's going to probably drive.
He's great to communicate with, so they should.
I think we should vote on all matters go to John Higgins related to the.
Yes, he's
to the
he's a
commission.
clear thinker and a clear
Exactly.
communicator. It's going to be good.
Exactly.
Peter,
Now, very early on, after Connie advanced this draft, I had one comment. I mean, reporters are lone wolves, or they were in a previous era. So I defer to other people and how you write job descriptions. But the one thing that I wish we could have souped up, and I don't know if there's a simple way to do it, is we need somebody who's computer literate enough that they can take care of the website and advance it in the way Connie has done in putting up these separate pages and bringing stuff to the fore that needs to be in the fore and moving it to the back, into the background when it needs to be. And the description as I read it, the original version was, essentially proficiency in Word and a few other things. I was surprised that we didn't, and I don't know if there's a simple way to ask. I mean, I suspect it's like, are you proficient in some software package? But what we really need is kind of, website management, and it would relieve a lot of pressure on us if that stuff were in the right place and findable. So that's my one comment on the draft. I don't know what to ask to make that operational, but that would be it.
Well, our website is created by WordPress.org, and you really do have to know how to use it. So I thought I put it in there. I'll look again, but
I
I
thought
thought
you
I
had,
did. Yeah, they have to be able to do that, because otherwise, forget it, So that's really key. So like just for tonight, just for instance, I posted on Facebook just to have the link to link back to our website. I had to create a whole new page under meeting information with this date. And when you do that, when you've already had a list of meetings, you have to know which position that new date is. It's like a -13, like, because you start at 0, and if it's like before the first date you start, it has to be like a negative position. I mean, these are like little teeny things, but you have to do all of these things for it to work. Like you upload something into the media library, then, it's like a whole thing. But if you know how to do it, it's fast. And we can archive things. We can clean up this website. These are all things that are possible. But we need John to tell us how much money we really can dedicate. Is it 10 hours a week at a certain dollar amount? And how much is that a year? And do we have enough money to be able to do that responsibly? That's the key.
Okay, and I just say that besides knowing WordPress, I mean, I don't know what the right phrasing is, but is being innovative with WordPress, knowing
Yes.
how to use it in a way that
Right.
gets stuff up front when it needs to be up front,
Yes.
and backed off when it needs to be backed
Right.
off, not just when we tell somebody to post it, they post it.
Yes. Yes.
They didn't
I'm
have-
hoping we can get someone who's really social media savvy. We need that now. That's how we're communicating.
one other
Yeah.
place to post this would be at, I'm sure American University has some kind of placement office, and
Yeah.
for like graduate students who want to get 10 hours a week or something like that. That might be very attractive to somebody who
Yeah.
would be very tech savvy, probably.
Just, one further thought, putting into Jerry Malitz's newsletter.
Yes, that's another. Yeah.
Jerry will do that for
Jerry
sure.
will do that for sure. And I like that idea, Randy. I will explore that, because I have actually a lot of connections at the local university, so I could ask. I think that's a good idea. Also, there's actually a lot of nonprofit organizations that are training kids on social media, but they're younger. So I think I would prefer graduate students.
A grad student would be perfect, I think.
Yeah.
It means that they're probably not going to stay around for long, but
Well,
I don't know. I mean,
Michael?
but
Yeah.
so Peter Lynch asked, can we do internships, and you're talking
Yeah.
about graduate students.
I
As
don't
a
know.
first choice, we would want somebody who is going to be here for a
Yes.
while. We don't want
Yeah.
a
Professional.
3-month intern or
No,
even one semester intern. That I think is the very last
yeah, this is not something.
desirable option.
It's
But
not
that
something.
person could do a small project, like what Peter was saying, like
Well-
archive things, like work with their executive administrative assistants.
Yeah.
That's a different thing.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Chuck Elkins has been very successful at getting interns for discrete little projects.
Correct.
Like he had an intern look at all of the ANC web pages for all 40 ANCs, and
That's
to
great.
say what was there, what was good about them, what was not good about them. I think there were only 37 who actually had web pages. There are several who don't. But by the way, ours came out as being about the best, believe it or
Yeah.
not.
It's only because we're like perfectionists. It has to even be even better.
Yeah, it
It has
does.
to be
We
even
can make it
better.
better. I agree.
Are these paid internships?
The ones that Chuck got were not. But you know, there are some paid internships, but the ones Chuck got were not.
Oh, I didn't think it was allowed to volunteer
Oh, yeah,
in the
yeah.
government. It is.
Sure.
We're
For an
doing.
ANC, we're volunteers.
And that's another whole issue. But I know on the federal side, it's really difficult.
Yeah,
That's so true.
it is perfectly fine to have interns. There are several ANCs that do use interns.
Mm.
Um,
Do they get academic credit?
Some of them do, I think. Yes, I think they do. Okay, let's go to the items for the January 10th meeting. The big item is going to be the ECC Murray field. John and I have been telling people that we're going to shoot for a meeting on the 10th where it'll be a broad meeting to discuss the plan as it exists then. And Murray is making modifications on it that they're going to make public on the 15th. And that's going to be a big issue. And so I suspect we're going to have a lot of people who will participate in that meeting. It's going to last a while.
Randy, can I ask a question? I have on my calendar, and my calendar is never in coherent shape, but I have on my calendar, it says here, the Chevy Chase Google Group Murray Episcopal Children's Center meeting 7 to 8 p.m. on January 10th.
That's us. That's our ANC meeting.
That's it. That's us. That's nothing
Right.
different. Okay.
It's not anything different.
I didn't know if that's what I was trying to figure out. Okay, thank you.
Peter?
I just want to know how we handle the fact. If I find, as I suspect I'm going to find, that it is well within our budget to do postcards, can we handle that? Can we handle an approval? The 10th is only 5 days before the charrette, at least as
22nd. 22nd is the charrette.
12 days.
I'm sorry. Oh, the 22nd. Okay. All right. Fine. But I would just, I want to be sure that besides the usual update, we're going to have to take that. We're going to have to take that up, a substantive issue up about being sure we drum up a lot of.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. There are also a bunch of things we have to do every first meeting of the year. And those are just the adoption of the bylaws again, election of new officers, adoption of a schedule. All of those things have to be done at the first meeting of the year. Then there are a couple of other things that have come up since I posted the agenda. One is I circulated it to several people today, to all the commissioners today, a possible resolution on requesting funding in the FY 2023 budget for a feasibility study to create a senior wellness center in Ward 3. We've talked about that a lot in the past, and the Ward 4 Dems just passed a resolution to that effect. And so I think it would be a good idea for us to look at it and decide whether we want to have a resolution as well. And then finally, we have a couple of grant applications that have been sitting around, and I think we ought to go ahead and have presentations on those. The two that I have is one from the Chevy Chase Citizens Association, and the other is for some materials to be used in refurbishing some of the trails in Rock Creek Park. And we need to look at both of those, I think. And so I think we should put those on the agenda as well.
And also perhaps that community board, the Chevy Chase Main Street, Randy.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And what about the big party for the first year anniversary of the new ANC commissioners?
Well, you know, there is a tradition that has been honored in the breach for the last couple of years. And that is that after the last meeting of the year, we all go out to Chevy's Lounge and have a few beers. So, but we're not going to do that again. So, that's been the tradition, but it goes back many decades, I think. But
Really?
yes,
Why are we the first to break it?
we aren't the first. We broke it last year as well because
Okay, because of
pandemic.
COVID.
Right.
Well, if you find a place that has an outdoor with heat lamps venue, I'm
Right.
up for doing that.
Okay. All right. Well, it's been a great year, guys.
It's been a great year.
It has.
It's
What
been
did you say, Peter?
just
I didn't hear you, Peter.
It's been a wild ride.
Now,
wild.
done this in 90 minutes, which has got to be the short.
Okay. All
I
right.
know. We got to say goodbye. Wait, now let's get save the chat. Okay, Randy.
Okay. All right.
It's so good to work with you guys. Happy holidays.
Thank you, guys. Everybody have a great holiday, and we'll see you in January.
Okay.
Connie, you'll
Bye.
send me that
Bye-bye.
letter?
Yes.